So commit number 24, we've got offensive guard Jose Sodto out of Sac State, right? So bringing in an experienced offensive lineman from Sac State, a guy that understands Coach Marion's system and what to expect on the line. He's a big physical interior offensive lineman. He was expected to, anchor that Hornets front seven or front five before, they missed a little bit of time due to some injuries. He's known for having a strong base. He's a leverage-driven run blocker, and he's got steadiness in some of the short area passing sets. What are your thoughts on Sodto?
Nope, I like him. I'm going to allude to something you said on Friday's show, though. You need these guys in there that are going to come and teach the system, right? Because the blocking scheme is going to be a little bit different. I know that everybody sees, this is a zone, outside stretch run or outside zone blocking that's supposed to go through the C gap, right? It's not that simple, right? There are certain things that needed to be done. There's certain blocks, certain way your footwork needs to be done. So I love this. Bring one of your guys over to help teach the system.
100%. Yeah, no, exactly. You're spot on with that one. For all my numbers gurus out there, he came in last season. He was the number one guard, 11th best player on offense for Sac State last season. Number one guard at a 66.0 overall. Played in 11 games. He had grades of 65.8 in the run blocking grade and 59.2 as a pass blocker. So pretty good grades there. I think that would have graded pretty highly, if I remember correctly, for the Buffs O-line last season. Also, 0 sacks allowed.
Yeah.
We love that. We love that.
Yep.
Awesome. So moving on to the next one that we got live on the show last week, defensive end Vili. I'm still going to mess this up. Toatafua. That's my guess there.
Yep.
How you feel I did? Okay, cool.
I'm not going to try.
So from San Jose State, he's and some of these I'm pulling bits and pieces from 247, from their draft comps, just from their high school recruiting. But known as a hard worker, right? So motor-driven edge defender, carved out a starting role at San Jose State after JUCO and stops at Utah. Shows a knack for penetrating the backfield with pursuit and strength. He's got some run stuffing aggression, sack ability, and force fumble instincts. He also got an all Mountain West honorable mention before he entered the portal. How are we feeling about Vili?
Nope, like him a ton. I think, again, that trend continues, right? You have all Mountain West honorable mention. Buffs are targeting guys that played at a high level and have a lot of snaps. So, again, I just think this fits what they're doing at this point. This guy, Villa, I'm going to just say it's right, Villa. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, so I'm going to leave that to you, Miles. But I think this was a great get, and he'll be competing, absolutely competing for a starting position on the offensive line.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, very excited there. Let me go ahead and grab those grades as well. If you guys are not already, you can find a community pinned on my page. It's called CU News and Numbers. I put a lot of PFF stats, kind of behind the scenes stuff that you can expect for, guys that come into the Buff. So if you were into that type of stuff, go ahead and try to join the community. We'd love to have you in there. So Vili ranked as the 6th best defensive player for San Jose State, number 2 defensive edge at a 71.7 overall in 11 games last season. He had grades of a 65.8 in run defense, 59.2 in tackling, 71.7 in pass rush, and 69.3 in coverage. He also had 17 pressures, 4 sacks, 11 hurries, and 23 stops. So good overall numbers, as you alluded to. Very productive. Moving on down the list, as many as you probably saw, this one did go a little bit under the radar. We had a 2026 QB commit come in. I'm going to let you say this one because I don't know the name as well.
Okay, Canal Sweet Wine.
Canal Sweet Wine, absolutely. So high school dual threat quarterback from Utah with a big frame. I think he's 6'3", between 195, 200 pounds. Got good athletic tools, makes plays with both his arm and his legs. He's originally committed to NC State, and I think he was committed to BYU before that, but he's coming to Colorado as part of the 2026 class, a late addition, after just evaluating fit and just proximity to home. So how are we feeling about this new QB?
Yeah, I really, really like him. We were talking before the show, and I was just like, man, this dude fits the go-go perfectly. And then, we started talking, it's like, but Julian Lewis is there, right? There's that but. This dude can play the dual threat. Just if there was, a quarterback that you could find, made for the go-go offense with Coach Marion, Sweet Wine is your guy. So I'm excited for him. I don't know how much we will see of him, just because of Julian Lewis. But I'm more excited to see him in camp and see. And again, nothing is promised to anybody for a certain position, but man, I'm really, really excited to see this kid play. And, Skyridge there in Utah, that is a big time high school football program in the state of Utah, right? There's Corner Canyon, Skyridge. Skyridge is a big time football program. So this kid can absolutely play.
Absolutely. And like you alluded to, right, Isaac Wilson coming in as well, probably your primary backup. You've got Dominic Ponder maybe there in QB3, so probably contending for the QB3 position at this time. But good measurables, good tape on film in high school. So we'll see what he can become, and hopefully he sticks around for a couple of years to develop.
Yep.
Number 26 commit. We've got Trey Young, for all my basketball people out there, not that Trey Young, Trey Young. Long snapper from Saddleback College. He was a 4.5-star long snapper, and that's really all that I could find to give you a whole lot of stats and grades for Saddleback College or long snappers for that matter.
Yep, I have nothing, but that is awesome. The thing I can say, again, I've already thrown it out there. I'm a Raider fan. There was one game, I believe it was a Monday Night Football game. I don't even remember who they were playing. Long snapper got hurt, and they couldn't do anything. The Raiders couldn't even punt. It was awful. Mm-hmm. So that depth there, it doesn't seem like a lot. It is huge. Don't know a ton about it, but you're going to need a couple guys that can snap the ball, because that punting, field position, all those things, it's one of those unsung heroes of the football team.
1,000%. One of those guys that, like you said, if there's a problem there, you're going to find out real quick.
Yep.
And I think with if I remember correctly, I think Cameron Hawkins is out of eligibility. I think he graduated, our long snapper from last season. So definitely need to have some extra pieces there, and maybe we add another one with a little bit more experience, at the higher level. But we'll see. Yes. Moving forward, number 27 that came in, we got tight end Fischer Clemens. I think is Clemens from Northern Colorado, 6'9". I don't know if you saw that.
Yep,
or 6'9".
6'9".
Yep. So long, athletic tight end with size and developing pass catching ability, who contributed consistently over multiple seasons at Northern Colorado. The frame and the receiving upside make him a reliable red zone threat, as you can imagine, and a flexible blocker. So he brings length and versatility to the tight end room that we're going to probably see a little bit more development in the offense this season.
Yep. And I think, too, you start thinking about the monsters that CU has at tight end now, right? Because we had, what was our guy's name from Loveland? Zane D'Souza, right? Yep. Zane D'Souza. Man, they have some monsters at tight end. 6'9" tight end in college is holy cow. It just in general. But in college, right? Look for a lot of targets for him in the red zone. I'd say, throw it up and let him go get it.
Totally. And I do have to correct us. Unfortunately, it is 6'7", not 6'9". But still, 6'7" tight end is right in my wheelhouse, right?
Yep. 6'7" is crazy. That is still, throw it up. Same, 2 inches doesn't change it. So
absolutely. 100%. Awesome. So number 28 we got going on here. We've got a little bit of a controversial, but a very exciting, commit nonetheless. We got safety Boo Carter coming back around to the Buffs from Tennessee. I think a lot of people know about Boo Carter, but athletic, versatile defensive back and former 4-star recruit who flashed a lot of playmaking ability in the secondary and on special teams at Tennessee. He showed a lot of instincts and coverage and physicality near the line. Had some off the field issues, some availability issues as well. But that speed, the ball skills, everything that drives, interest in Boo Carter. What are your thoughts on bringing in Boo?
Man, it was just a matter of time, right? It felt like for the last couple of years. I thought last year he was going to, and then whatever it is that happened at the beginning of the season, or what was maybe like a couple 3 or 4 weeks before the season started, there was talk that, I don't know, there was something that happened with UCLA. He was out in California. Do you remember this last year? And
100%. He didn't show up for a couple of practices or just like off-season stuff.
Yep. But with all that being said, man, this is one to be excited about. This kid can absolutely play. This is one of the guys that's going to, and I hate to say this, but he's going to walk off. He walks out there and he's one of the best players on the team, on the defense, right? He is that talented. He's one of the guys that, I remember a couple of years ago was termed, is this the next Travis Hunter? Another Travis Hunter. There's never going to be another Travis Hunter, but this kid could, absolutely play both ways. Again, it doesn't sound like that's what's going to happen, but Boo Carter I expect a lot from him this year. This is one of those big transfer portal recruits that is a massive gift for the Buffs.
1,000%. And like you said, production has been there. I think he was an all SEC freshman honorable mention or, first team member on that. Highly touted out of high school. And one of the things, I've seen this a lot on Twitter, and I've had my own reservations about bringing in Boo Carter. I think Buffs fans can rest assured that Prime knows what he's doing, and everybody saw some of the characters, some of the leadership issues that we had last season, and you hope to everything that's going on with the program that they did a thorough evaluation on his character. They talked to everybody that they could. They understood that situation as best as possible before they let him come in the door. And so I don't know about you, Manny, but I'm on the stance of if Coach Prime and that staff trusts him, then who am I to scream from the high tops that he shouldn't be there?
Nope, and I'm with you. And again, with kids, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to do some things. They're still kids at the end of the day. And, we kind of talked about it last week a little bit on Friday's show, but, you give him this opportunity and see what he does with it. I think we were talking a little bit, I think it was last night you and I were talking, and it's kind of, how Cormani McLean, you come in 17, 18 years old, and, and again, I'm not saying that this was the case, but you're always used to being the best player on the team, by far the best player on the team. And then, oh man, everybody else is just as good. How do I work hard? How do I get there? Right. And sometimes it takes some a little bit longer than others. Right. And, what it does seem like is Boo Carter now is in the right mindset. He's here now and a couple years wiser. Right.
Yeah, and I think there is an undervalued part of this too of being away from home and like when you're in your circle and obviously there's value in committing to a place that you're nearby home and around family, but sounds like from what I've heard he's moved some of his family out and they're really committing to being out here in Colorado, fresh start and giving it all that they got. So if you can get the best of Boo Carter, that is a game changer on defense and somebody that you're going to rely on next season in the Big 12.
Yep. First team Big 12. That's the potential.
100%. Couple quick stats for you. He totaled 63 tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 2 sacks, and an interception in his time with the Vols. He also had grades of 64.7 overall last season, 74.4 run defense, 61.7 pass rush, 61.4 tackling, and 60.6 in coverage. So overall, around the middle or around the average, slightly above last season, but there was a lot of stuff going on. So you expect that, clear headspace and being on the Buffs, he's going to increase those pretty drastically, you hope.
Yep. Absolutely.
Awesome. Moving on. Number 29, we got defensive tackle Cedric Smith out of Maryland. A sturdy interior defensive lineman with size and strength traits who rotated through multiple programs and brings physicality against the run. A lot of people have been, talking about we need run stuffers, we need big defensive tackles. He didn't have a whole lot of production early on in his days at Maryland, but he's experienced to clog some gaps and anchor that defensive front. How do we feel about Smith?
Nope, I like it. I know a lot of people were kind of, well, where's the power four? Where's the power four defensive lineman? And again, it doesn't matter, right? Because we just had, our guy that we just had on, Dylan Manuel, that dude is a disruptive player, disruptive force. How many times, I think part of it too is the transfer portal is now starting to show a little bit how much, these on threes and 24/7 sports miss a lot, right? They miss a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now here we are, right? You've had, Fernando Mendoza, 0-star recruit, going to be the number 1 pick. Last year, same situation with Cam Ward. So again, but with Cedric Smith, I'm really happy he's here. We'll see what he can do. Watched a little bit of highlights here and there. And like you said, not a ton of film on him, but again, you need to be able to stop the run, especially read option for this team. So I think that's a big time gift for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing too that is important to realize about this class is that you need a blend of those guys, right? Like you don't want a bunch of P4 guys. You don't want all G5 or FCS type of guys either. You need a blend. You need some guys that are hungry that, are coming up a level, and you need some guys that might have been at a different school and just need a different opportunity. But I think that the overpays are a day of the past. We're now in a position where we're getting guys that really want to be in the limelight and making a difference on a true P4 roster. So
and just to
I feel good about that.
Yep. And just to jump to this, Otis was a bust. He was. I mean, just plain and simple. And the part that frustrates me the most is you would see him, and again on TV, there's not a lot. They always, they follow the football. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. I watched him a lot when he went in, and there were some plays where you were just like, there's two guys on him and he's holding his ground, like anchoring, eating blocks. And then there's some plays where he just kind of like wasn't carrying, or just kind of got up out of the stance and got pushed around a little bit. And it was just kind of like, what? Dude, you're like a first-round talent. So anyway, beside that, you could end up with that, though, as well.
Yeah, and I think that we alluded to it last week as well, was for the money you paid Otis, you're going to find at least potentially somewhere between 2 to 6 defensive tackles that could meet that production. And why not take a shot on a guy like this? And again, I think they're really looking to improve the run stopping this season. So moving on, we got number 30. This was a big one, one that people are very excited about. Is it Randon? Do you know?
Brandon Fontinet is
Brandon Fontinet. Okay, cool. From Vanderbilt.
Yep.
Awesome. Safety from Vanderbilt. We got a versatile secondary player with ball skills, tackling toughness, and instincts to make plays both in coverage and downhill. He was a former high school standout. He had a little bit of experience with TCU, but has shown an ability to, track the ball, break on routes, and really contribute as a consistent run support safety with instincts, that translate across different schemes. So this feels to me, you're welcome to shut me down if this is too far, but this feels like a number 7 for the Buffs.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I saw him with the number 7 on during the photos, right? But it really does. I think, because we're talking Taufik Bayard and the Shark, right? That's who we're talking about. I just feel like as an all-around safety, he is better. So that is just me. Like, he is going to be one that's going to go get interceptions. He's going to be one that you can put in coverage, right? Because, at times with Taufik Bayard, he played a lot in the box, right? That box safety role, which was great. But then sometimes in coverage, there would be a little bit of a struggle there, right? And again, whether that be the club on his hand or not.
He got an interception with the club.
No, that was crazy. That was wild. Yeah, it was Iowa State, right? It was Iowa State game, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Correctly.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
And I guess to love this pickup. I just think this is going to be one of the second best safety, because now we're talking about Boo Carter or first. I mean, I start looking big picture right away. I was like, holy cow, they got some really good safeties at this point now. So I'm excited for the duo Fontinet and Boo Carter. So.
Yeah, and I've heard a little bit about I think there's a little bit of speculation or rumor about where Boo is going to play. If he's going to be a safety, he's going to be slot corner, nickel. Like, where is he really going to be on the field? He's very versatile. But I think you have a definitive safety here. We'll get to, a little bit of the departures from the safety room, but you got Ben coming back. People are plus or minus on Ben. I think you might want to add a little bit more safety depth in there. But overall, in terms of a high-level playmaker, experienced guy, this is as good as it gets that you're going to get out of the portal.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited for him. Just proven-wise, this is a huge-time get for that Colorado secondary.
1,000%. For all my numbers people, he ranked as Vandy's 15th best defensive player last season, number 2 safety, at a 68.4 overall in 13 games played. He also had grades of 71.7 tackling. I think that would have been the highest on the Buffs last season. We were abysmal at tackling. 69.5 in coverage, 66.5 in run defense, and then 61.9 in pass rush. He also, as a safety, had 10 pressures, 7 hurries, 21 stops, 4 PBUs, and 75% receptions allowed. So overall versatile, like you said, can play in the box, but also very solid in coverage as well.
Yep.
I'm going to pin this just right here. Again, as people are alluding to, Boo could be a nickel. I think you can really put him in anywhere in the secondary, and he's just going to go wreak havoc. So if he's in a good headspace, I don't care where you put Boo Carter, just put him on the field.
Yep, he can play linebacker too, which is crazy.
Yeah,
he can return punts. He can play slot wide receiver. Yeah. So just get him on the field.
1,000%. Awesome. Moving up the list here, we've got number 31 that came in the other day. Cornerback Emory Floyd, teammate of our interview guest Dylan Manuel.
Oh man,
I know we should have asked him about it. I'm realizing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah.
That's all right. basic rundown here on Emory. So a long athletic defensive back who plays with speed and physicality. Projecting best is a versatile outside corner who can run with receivers and hold up in man coverage while still being a little bit active in run support. Began his career at South Carolina. His size, speed profile stood out, but didn't play a whole lot, and then transferred to App State to find that more consistent role. He's got straight line speed, length, and competitiveness, making him a developmental defender. I don't know if this is your day one corner starter, but how do you feel about this one?
I don't think it's day one, but I think this kid, I think he's going to want to. I don't want to say a project, but you're going to be seeing him play. He'll touch the field, right? He'll be out there. He'll play some. But I would think long term more with Emory Floyd, right? Because he has how many years of eligibility?
If I remember correctly, I think he had 2 years at South Carolina and then 1 year at App State. So I'm thinking 2.
Okay. So if he gets, because he redshirted then, I would assume one of those.
I would assume he didn't play very much at.
Okay.
It's either he played 2 at App State or in 1 at. It's a 2-1 situation, and I think he redshirted one of them.
And the crazy part is you never know, right? You get somebody like this on campus, right? Originally recruited South Carolina, that's big time, that's SEC, and then you go to App State, you ball out there, and then you come here, and you never know. You really never know, and this is kind of one of those players you got to trust the film on what you watched. And again, what it sounds like this year is Colorado Prime. They were all hands on deck, just looking at players and watching. They're still going through that process. But so if they've seen something, I would expect we'll see him on the field. And more than likely, you might be looking at a starting corner spot for next year.
Yeah, I mean, and I watched a tad bit of the film. I mean, and you can put me in my place on this, but I saw a little bit of Ivan Yates, like a little bit better, a little bit more polished Ivan Yates, played at a higher level and it's got that experience, just needs a little bit of polish and maybe doesn't have the top end talent that some of the other corners that we brought in do.
Right. Nope. Excited. We'll see what he the contribution looks like this year from him.
Totally. Looking at the numbers, he ranked as App State's 13th best defensive player last season, number 4 corner at a 68.5 overall in 13 games played. He also had grades of 80.8 tackling, surprisingly an 85.1 in run defense. 67.1 in coverage, and then 59.8 as a pass rusher. He had 48 tackles, 11 stops, 56.7% receptions allowed. Again, that's pretty good for a corner. 1 interception, 2 PBUs, 8 penalties. That was the only thing that really stood out to me, was 8 penalties.
I wonder too. So, and again, I know PFF is. I wonder how many of those were in man-to-man or zone or what that looked like, right? So, like, what kind of defense had those penalties come in, right? Because if they're in zone, right, like cool, but Buffs play a lot of man-to-man, right? So
totally.
Just kind of curious to see where that goes. And now we got the technical side of playing in that position. Just go Coach Prime's there, right? The greatest to ever do it. So
1,000%. Yeah, absolutely. Moving down, most recent commit. I don't know about you, Manny. I heard nothing about this one. This came out of left field. I was as surprised as anybody else. Offensive tackle, and I'm going to butcher this. Bo Hewley. Does that sound right?
Is it Hewley? I think it's Hewley. Yep. Okay. Hewley, it sounds like. Yep.
Cool. From Georgia. A long, physically projectable offensive tackle, 6'7", coming in from the University of Georgia with a near 7-foot wingspan, brings prototypical size and length to the line, while showing the ability to move well for his frame and anchor in the run game. Played in multiple games, had a couple of spot starts, stepped in where needed, and was known for being very competitive and having that physical blocking mentality. He's got a little bit to work on in terms of his technique and in some of those pass sets, but I think we're seeing a trend here with versatile run blocking offensive linemen recently.
Yep. And to allude, with what you had, I had zero idea that this was happening with him. Because you even texted me. I was like, nope, I had no idea this was going down. But this is a really good offensive lineman. This is going to be, in my opinion, this is going to be your starting right tackle this next season, right opposite of Jordan Seaton. Just huge again. The Buffs are after a certain type of offensive lineman, and again that trend's starting. We're starting to see that continue a little bit. So I absolutely love this get. You always want good offensive linemen. This dude played in the SEC. I'm thrilled for this one as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're spot on with that. again, going back to just like the versatility of guys that you bring in, you don't want everybody to come from SEC rejects and per se. We want a blend of guys. We've got, I think Philip Houston has another year of eligibility. Larry Johnson's coming back. So you've got a competition going on there. And I know that there's some other guys that they're targeting. We'll get to that later on, but I think overall this is a really exciting pickup. And for all my numbers people, he played in 10 games last season at a 62.1 overall. And I want to give this, I'm realizing I haven't done this enough. For anyone who's not familiar with PFF grades, a 60 is average, just for context sake. So when you hear that a player is at a 66 or 62, keep in mind that a 60 is considered average. So anything above that or below that, that's your essentially baseline for those. Actually had a 73.9 in pass block grade, which is interesting. I don't think he was in on as many pass block snaps. 59.3 in run block, so roughly right around average. But if you can be average in the SEC, you're probably going to be pretty good, in the Big 12. So we'll see how that comes out.
Yep.
Awesome. And that's, unless the chat wants to break any breaking news for us, that's all we have so far. How do we feel about where the Buffs sit, in terms of since our last conversation? And I think we're averaging like 3 to 4 commits a day at this point.